Hi, so I recently got this Soundcraft EFX 12. I was looking for some reviews about it online prior to buying it because this is actually my first mixer that I am personally buying, but I was unable to find anything really. So I thought, for those of you who may be considering one of the cheaper mixers that you may be able to get probably close to professional or really good sound quality out of. It's not the best out there, but it does pretty well. So as you can see, this is the Soundcraft EFX 12. So let's start from going about the mixer and what goes on. So this is just a little review about it, so it probably can help you out if you're trying to find a mixer for you. Probably this is the one. Right, so a bit underneath the mixer you will find where you plug in the power cord, and this little button there is actually the on button. That's a bit kinda out of the way and it's a bit annoying at times because you have to lift up the mixer to plug in your power cord, and to switch it off or switch it on you have to lift up your mixer. Other than that, I guess it's okay, we could work around it. There are like little spaces on the side here that the power cord passes through. So first thing let's talk about our build quality. This really rugged. It really has some weight to it. This is solid, all solid on top, solid to the sides and so forth. So then, pretty good build quality. On the sides it actually comes with, it is rack mountable, so these screws I believe here comes off and you put on the rack mount that comes with it, so you can put it into your rack and so forth. So let's start from the top. So here at the top we have, it's actually one of the Soundcraft is one of the few mixers that actually, when it advertises a 12 channel mixer, it actually has 12 channels. So we have 1 through 12 here. Most of them usually is about 10 mic preamps, and then the others are stereo line-ins, and so they kind of mislead you with how they describe their mixer. This actually has 1 through 12 that you can actually plug in a mic into. So at the top we have our XLR input, and so that's what most people use for their mics that they want to plug in. Then we have the line in. So if you want to use a 1/4 inch jack, you can go straight in there. Then you have the insert, again line 1/4 inch jack, go straight in there. That's how you get your signal into the port. So the next thing we have here on the channel strip itself is we have our gain knob. So we go from 5 decibels to 60 decibels. We can go with gain, and the line itself is 15 decibels. So you could boost your signal, how hot your signal is coming in, to plus 60 decibels. Going straight up to 60 is probably not the best thing ever because it kind of gets a little scratchy and so forth. So you really just have to go with it. What I do is I plug in the mic, send up my strip to unity, which is at 0 here, and then I have my speakers, I send it up to unity, and then I put on my PFL so I can see it, the kind of signal is coming in, and I turn up my gain until, with normal usage on the microphone, I actually see some signal happening here, something happening here, and as soon as I reach that point, that's where I leave my gain. That's how I set my gain actually. I don't know if it's perfect, but it works for me. It might work for you too. So we have our gain over there. Then we come down. The one thing that we should notice is they're all color coded. These knobs are all color coded, which makes it really good for moving around the board. And I actually perform and use the board at the same time, mixing at the same time, so it's very easy to navigate. So we come down from the gain, and here we have, it's not really a 4-band EQ, but it's what you call 3-band with a mid sweepable. So it's parametric mids. So you have your high frequency, you could get that nice crisp sound in there. It goes from 15 decibels, boost or cut, either way. Up to you what you want to do with that. Then your mid frequencies itself, it goes from 150 Hertz to 3.5 kilohertz. So you can select the frequency for your mids that you want to either boost or cut by 15. So for my vocals, I'm cutting just around here. Boosting just about 3 decibels, that frequency there. So then it's pretty decent. Not the best in the world, but I like it. Then the next knob that you have here, the next black knob, is your low frequency. So you can either boost or cut your low frequency, cut out a little bit of the boom, or adding a little more bass. If you're using, well, I use Indian musical instruments, so like on a dholak bass you might want to add in a little something. If you're using a drum set and so forth, on your bass drum you might want to add in a little something. It's pretty cool, it works pretty fine. It's one thing we should notice that all of the sweepable mids, the actual parametric, the one that sweeps the frequencies, it's not the same color. These others are black, which boosts or cut, but that one is white, so it's easy to locate and get there and select your frequencies. So the next one we have here, this green knob, is actually your auxiliary outs. So what this is, it runs your auxiliary if you want to run like a monitor or something like that. You could actually control the amount of signal from this channel that is going to it itself. Then you have your FX. I actually don't use this for any monitor or anything like that. I actually use it to put in an external outboard effects. I'll probably show you all that later in this video or in another one. I use an Alesis Nano Verb 2. Yeah, it is actually pretty good, pretty cheap as well. I got it for $79 off Amazon. So that's your auxiliary one. The next one in the line, the purple knob, is your effects. So notice that everything purple here is your effects, right? Everything green is auxiliary one. Alright, so you have your effects here. You have great onboard effects coming with this actual mixer. Lexicon effects, probably the best effects out there. Soundcraft actually acquired Lexicon, so it's in their group of companies basically. So you got some really good effects coming in. So you have your holes, you have your plates, room reverb, studio, chamber, arena, gated. You have a total of 16. You have 2 banks of effects, so you have 16 on the first bank and you have 16 on the second bank. How you switch your banks is this knob right here. One time through is first bank, and as soon as you go second time through is the second bank. You have your PFL for it to show up on here. You can actually use the stop tempo button here to change the stop tempo button here to change how you're tapping, how the effects actually come off. You can store it or you can mute your effects. So getting back to the channel strip, we have the effects here. This controls the amount of effects coming in. Of course you need to include in it your fader that allows for the total amount of effects coming out of the effects bus. Then the yellow knob is simple. It's your pan left, pan right. When you're using a stereo setup, a mono setup, it really doesn't matter because it's the one signal coming right through. But stereo setup, you can pan left or you can pan right. I'm usually using mono, so I don't have that much speakers, so it doesn't make sense to really use stereo. So then next thing you have here is your PFL that allows you to see it on your limiter. I'm not sure if you're seeing my hand on the side. That's what routes it through there. You have a nice mute button. These buttons are actually pretty big and robust, so you can't accidentally press them. You actually have to want to go in there and press it for it to go down. So you have your PFL, your mute, you have a peak light to know when the channel is starting to clip. That's pretty handy there. I never saw it work, so I guess that's pretty good for me. Then you come down to your faders. I think this is 60. I'm not sure if it's a 60 or 100, but I'm really not sure the size of these faders. It's a bit, it has a little plate side to side, but being fluid, it's not grainy or anything like that. It's pretty good. I find it works well. So I've been using the mixer for a while, since October last year, and now it's beginning of February. So you know, it stands up, it works. So you have your fader here. It goes from infinity, negative infinity, straight up to plus 10. So that's that. So that's what goes on with 1 to 12 channels, 1 to 12. So then you have your step 1 and your step 2. This is actually a stereo inputs. If you look up here, you'll see a stereo left, stereo right. You can plug straight into your left, which is a mono. It will end up being mono. Again, you have a gain. This, however, is not a parametric EQ. This is just a standard 3-band EQ. Again, works pretty decent. Same auxiliary and FX sends. Your pan, well, normal stuff, PFL and mute. You got your faders. These faders are actually a little bit stiffer because it hasn't been in use compared to these. And then you have your faders. Sorry, you were out of the screen. Faders, not a little bit stiffer because I don't really use these channels compared to like these down here. But as I say, really nice. So coming over here now, we have, let's see to the top. We have, starting here again, we have, so it's 12 channels. It's actually more than 12 channels if you go by normal standard. So you have your stereo 1. I'm not sure if you're seeing that. Stereo 1, that's your step 1. And then you have your stereo 2 here. Same thing goes down. At the top, you have your auxiliary 1 out, your FX bus out, and you can plug in your normal standard foot switch in there. You also have your phantom power button. If you're using, you know, those condenser microphones and so forth, you can, that requires power, the mixer to actually power them, you can go ahead and use that phantom power button. If you're not using it, however, make sure it's off. You can damage your equipment like that easily. You have your 2-track in, 2-track record out. 2-track actually plays directly. You can see into your main mix or your monitor mix. You can select here whether you want your 2-track to go to your monitor or your main mix by just selecting. It could be both, it could be one, it could be none. So pretty decent. Next thing we have here is your signals to your main speakers. I use the XLR. Some people prefer the 1/4 inch. I use the XLRs, pretty good, balanced and so forth, no sort of noise and so forth. Your monitors, you have left and right. You have your little level, so you can control what's going on with the monitor. You have your stereo return. I'll tell you a little more about that after, because that's what I use my external effects with. Then you have your mono out here. Pretty straightforward. Your headphones jack, your level for your headphones comes down. Now you have your effects processor, your built-in effects processor. Really good effects processor. So for the effects processor, we could actually select post fade or pre-fade. So I usually have it on post fade. So there's a standard amount of effects going through to each channel, no matter what you have your fader level on. So at the top here, you have the parameters. So you have the pre-delay and the time speed parameter that you can change. Then you have the decay of the effect itself. And then you have the variance or the variable. I'm not sure which one is called for that. But yeah, so that effect there. Amount of effects to your aux1 send. How much you want going into your auxiliary. Then here you have what selects the bank. So these lights on top here tells you which bank you're on. One turn, first turn is bank A, second turn through is bank B. To get it back again, just turn through again, it goes back to bank A. You have a little clip light here, tells you when the channel is clipping a little bit. As we said before, you have your PFL, see it on your PFL here. You have your mute, you have your tap tempo, and you have your store button. You can actually store it. I'm not sure what those amber lights are for. Oh, those amber lights are actually for the tap tempo. You can actually see the tempo that's going with the effect. Effects fader, pretty decent, nice. And then finally we come over here now. you have a PFL signal. You can actually select which channels you want to be displayed. It tells you what's going good, when you're reaching that point, and when you're probably reaching the point where, you know, that's your limit there. For the 2-track, the monitor, and main mix, power button, and you come down, and now you have your mix, your left and right faders. You can select where it is. I'm usually at Unity, and that's actually pretty good and pretty loud. I think it's a quality mixer, really well done by Soundcraft. In Trinidad, I got this imported for right around, I think it was $3,100 TT, which is just about $6 3s 18, 6 was 24. About 500 US, which is good, I'm guessing, like really good. Actually, like 400 US, 4,500 US is actually a pretty good mixer for that price. Quality mixer, I am happy with it. I mean, I am enthusiastic about it. I went through lots of reviews, decided on getting this down here. The reason why I bought it down here, I could have gotten it cheaper online. I think it goes for $429 right now at like Sweetwater and so forth. The reason why I bought it, I know I was paying a little more in Trinidad, but I was able to get the full warranty from manufacturer and so forth down here from Caribbean Entertainment Technologies. Big up to Caribbean. CET, really great staff. Ravi helped me out there. Really great staff, great equipment, great advice, great people. Also great prices. You know, after the first few times you buy, you start getting a 10% discount. So, you know, I wasn't able to really get it for this mixer, but I know for future stuff I bought some Electro Voice DLX12s to go with this that I actually got my 10% on. So, you know, great stuff from them. Big up to those guys. I guess that's the end of our review. Hope it was helpful for you guys. Have a good one. Take it easy. Bye.